Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Let's call the meeting to order. The meeting members in attendance are Chris Cretin, Tyson, Frank Cogsworth, Bruce Hess. And we have from the township, we have Ralph Hutchinson, Tara Hitchens, Charlie Thomas, and Lisa Taylor. Okay. Bye for the possibility. Pledge allegiance to the republic stands indivisible, liberty and justice. Has everyone read the minutes of the meeting from last month? Do I have a motion to approve? Second. All in favor? Okay. Public concerns and or comments. Do we have anyone who would like to address the board? Okay. Certainly, if you want to come up to the table.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to the township. I live at 311 Mill Creek Road, right across the Millway from News Park. So thank you for the prompt attention to the.
So you have your name for the minutes.
Jeremy Lacey, Lei.
Okay.
And I appreciate it.
I'm not sure the park board is aware of what you're talking about.
Okay.
The backstory would be there were some dead trees overhanging the mill race, overhanging my property. One of them fell down, or both of them fell down, and I emailed the township, and I think 2 days later the tree was mostly gone. So.
Very good. Very good. Congratulations. Yeah. Thank you. Congratulations to your staff. Great. Anything else? Okay. All right. Let's see. Reports. Recreation.
Big sport. All balls are about wrapped up. So close for winter.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Grounds, buildings, and trails.
Okay, the new electrical service that we discussed about a week or a month or two ago. That should be completed by the end of this month. The contractor's waiting on PP&L to de-energize the meter so they can do about an hour's worth of work and then energize it up. And the restrooms will be closed by then, so no need for the electric. The restrooms will be closing November 12th. We always say right around Veterans Day, that's Monday, we're closed that day. So we'll start closing the restrooms down.
Will they be bringing porta potties in?
Following day.
Hey.
The fall frame seeding and fertilizing will complete this week, so Troy will be all be met. He did let me know they planted 15 trees in various places in different parks. sure what areas, but there were 15 of them that were budgeted that were planning last week. And I do also have park rentals, which Lisa will get into a little bit later. But between 2023 and 2024, we're down through last year. We had 125 residential rentals in 24. We're down to 14. Three for the non-residents. There was 53 rentals this year compared to 66 last year. So all rents are down, so that means fees are down.
Any relation between raising the price?
You don't let us know. I mean, some people would call in and ask for the pricing, and then send the girls because they're shopping around. They expect prices.
We didn't raise them last year, did we?
The best now.
We stayed, we slept.
Next year, we should,
Something you to discuss,
but we didn't talk about that yet.
I think we had talked about, do we do more for the weekends versus weekdays, capacity? I mean, I think we threw around some stuff, but I don't think we ever really zeroed in on anything.
The rates for 24 were the same as 23.
Yeah.
See a lot of people who were calling in and seeing if they were renting. That they weren't, they just took the chance and came and used them without renting. So a lot more of that this year. You know,
In 23, COVID was still getting over and people were doing things outside more. So maybe they're doing more inside stuff now.
yeah, there's a lot more people just coming in and using them. See a lot of people, they send somebody through on a Sunday morning, and if there's nothing there, they jump out of their car. A half hour, there's a bunch of people coming.
Yeah, and I guess that, I mean, we're not out of line with other people. I mean, you know, it's like we're not, you know, I think we've checked that out before.
Yeah, so we talked about raising the rates for out-of-towners and keeping it the same, but that's for next year.
I mean, well, you know, can be. Now's the time to decide.
We didn't decide yet.
Yeah, now's the time to decide. I don't know.
You did have an opportunity to read what Lisa prepared.
Yeah.
You may want to include that in the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, that,
Yeah, that's what I said. If where Lisa gets into her report, she'll get a little bit more in depth with that.
look at that again. I mean, I think that was one consideration that I'm thinking that we had. We were gonna say, we might change the fee structure to reflect charges for the, you know, the facilities. I think that's what we were thinking, you know, that.
Trying to get consistent between the different.
Yeah.
parks.
Right.
Where the recreational areas were a different charge from the pavilion.
Yeah.
In some of the parks, and some of the parks they weren't. Then we hunted because Lisa was coming and said, well, he might have a good idea.
We didn't know that at the time,
So we did.
There's also the caveat of the agreement we have with the baseball. With Lloyd. If you look at the chart, you can see that, like you said, like the weekends are much heavier, more heavily used. So if you're looking at separating those sports, it's really not going to make any sense to do that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because of the issue that you're going to run into, you know, with capacity for parking and, you know, with that capacity, you're going to run into problems with parking and congestion, more use of more need for, you know, trash service and cleanups and that sort of thing. So if you look at the chart and see the sports reservations in the middle there, you can see Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. some sort of a, fee structure, and with recommendations that number of hours, a maximum limit of number of hours of usage. If it's for starting place would be like a 2-hour minimum, and maximum of 3 rentals or total 6 hours. Then we're specifically at community club.
So the sports facilities reservations are standalone, not with a pavilion.
That's what we were interested in looking at.
Right.
Looking at this, 158 of the 168 pavilion reservations took place Friday through Monday. Yeah, but the time Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Maybe what you're getting at, Diane, was how many of those also reserved the sports?
Softball, yeah.
I think those are listed in the second chart.
We didn't have.
Right, so we don't have standard.
So, basically you can't just say, hey, I want to call and reserve the volleyball court. You can reserve.
You can.
Currently, we can't.
You can.
That's what I'm saying. Municipalities that you rent the facilities individually. Yes, pavilion, and then if you want it, you pay extra for the baseball field. You pay extra for the volleyball.
Out of the 168 pavilion rentals, 40 of them requested the use of the facility.
The others.
So we encourage usage Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That's true.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
I said, dude, just charge a low ball for Tuesdays. It's 2 for the price of 1 or something. Okay. Well,
We might get some of the weekenders to shift to another day, and then you have additional space available on those weekends. If somebody can shift.
We've also had the request from baseball and softball to be able to use the ball field without having to rent the pavilion. So you may want to consider how that plays into your thoughts as well.
We've also had outside baseball, softball organizations come to the township.
Right.
So the only one,
Mostly weeknights.
right? The only one we have an agreement with at this point is CV, correct? For usage of the fields.
Baseball.
Baseball, yeah, correct.
Sort of a cooperative.
Right. They maintain the fields at Flory and at Lafayette. Correct. In exchange for.
Yeah.
And the participants are all township residents too, CV, majority are CV residents.
Yeah, I think for the CV residents and things, I know like Strasburg does it during the week. They don't rent the ball fields and things, and it's open for people for leagues and stuff to come in. That's exclusively that, but on weekends, it's open to people who rent the pavilions. That's who gets them in. If they have, they probably the same problem. There we have, they want to use them during the week, that's fine, but on weekends when it's in the vast majority of picnics are, that's when they would leave it open for the people having the picnics. I think Strasburg JC Park's closed, you know, I think even a sign right when you come in, the entrance over there, they have something stating to that effect.
What's your pleasure? Anybody have any thoughts?
Managerial wise, I mean, like that's the crux of everything. I mean, I think we need to look at ways to raise revenue to help our programming out. And, you know, are we giving away too much where we could be, you know, generating a little bit more revenue for our programming if we do charge it, but, you know, is the logistics, is it feasible to do that?
As far as doing a rental during the week?
Well, as far as separating out, you know, like you have to charge extra for volleyball, or you charge extra for the softball field.
I believe we did that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, that we could generate some revenue. I don't know, you know, how much that would be at that point.
I mean, I would be looking for ways to generate revenue personally, so that we can grow our programming. That would be my preference.
Okay. Well, and let's face it, it's not unreasonable. Others are doing the same thing, right? I mean, you know, that you're saying that you had gigs that, you know, that other places were renting it for $25. Okay, looks to be typically $25 an hour. Or 25, yeah, 20 per hour for 2 hours. I don't know.
So to answer Diane's question, currently our systems are not set up for that.
Correct.
We would have to set that up in our systems for reservations of the sports facilities and then the income of that. But right now we don't have that set up. It's all combined into pavilion rentals. So that would take a little bit of effort to make that happen.
Well, we also want to give people notice that we're changing our policies too. Like, so that would be a beginning January 1. This is the new fee structure for park usage.
Is there anything in this thought process? Do we hamstring what Lisa is trying to do as we patchwork our charges together?
I don't think so. No, I believe, I mean, if we use the ball field, we can reserve it far enough in advance that it wouldn't impact that.
I don't know whether any of the programming you were doing was requiring those facilities that we might also be running.
Well, it was easy enough when we did anything this fall to just to go out and reserve the pavilions. They were open enough that they didn't have any problems in anything besides chefs.
We'd like it to be a problem, but it isn't one yet. I suggest we do this this charging for the fields and set it up at a very low level, an inexpensive level, but get them used.
2 hours. Cheap.
$25
1 hour. 350. That's still pretty cheap.
And so you're suggesting what Lisa is suggesting, starting with Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then see how that goes.
Yes.
The weekends, yeah.
I like what she's suggesting.
Pavilion rentals, that's when the big families and big picnics are there. Have it open that they can use it easier.
So let's clarify. What are we saying? So we're saying $25 an hour. And what was the suggestion on
For Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in the, is that what she's saying?
Tuesday, Wednesday, midweek.
Yeah.
midweek? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay.
The weekends?
I didn't hear that. No, I heard
Say something.
I heard the weekends were staying with pavilion rental. that the fields go with the pavilions at that time. That's what I heard.
Personally, I think we should consider weekends too. I don't know, to me, it's just, if we're gonna rent them out, it should be 7 days a week.
Yeah, and that's why I was asking to clarify, so.
I mean, that's confusing, I think, if we were just saying, beginning January 1st, if you want to rent the volleyball court, it's gonna cost $20 an hour.
This is where we run into the same concern we had last year. We have 3 pavilions at community parks that can hold 350 people. We have a volleyball court. If there's 2 teams there, that's about 20 parking spaces. We have a baseball field. If there's 2 teams there, that's about 25 parking spaces. So we've just reduced our 153 parking spaces to 100 parking spaces for 300 people at the pavilions if we've rented all of the facilities in one day. So where's everyone parking?
My suggestion would be just do 3 days to start here and see how it works. Yeah, because like you said, there's not gonna be parking, we rent everything.
How are you anticipating creating demand on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for the field rentals?
We're gonna go back to the folks that have already been here asking for permission to use the fields on those days. And we had 2 outside, when I say outside of East Lampeter organizations, one from the city come out and the other from
The old area.
The old area. I mean, it's a start.
Right.
What if somebody would come in and say, I want to rent every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, April, May, June? For the baseball field.
Now, here's an interesting story. I would suggest, were you gonna say something?
No, I was just responding to his question. If somebody decides they want to rent them all, do we let them or don't we? Do we care?
You mean all the fields or all
If somebody comes
Take a
in,
month's worth of Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays.
if I'm coaching the baseball team and I know that field's available, I come in January 2nd and say, I want to rent every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for the next 4 months. And that leaves nobody else able to come in.
I think the chances of that.
Check that.
I was gonna say, who wants to turn down that check?
It's 2 weeks or a month in advance.
The other thought, I don't know, maybe this is, I don't know.
Well, we're still.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with somebody inside of East Lampeter doing that. I have a little bit of a problem with somebody coming in from outside and doing that. So maybe there's a timing issue that says non-resident can only do this within a month of the date to be reserved. You get it complicated enough that you can't manage it.
It's summer months too. I mean, you got longer daylight, you can actually get different teams in there.
You'll have to let people know on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, their pavilion rental does not include sports fields.
Might not.
Well, there'd be an extra charge for them.
Okay, it would be an extra charge. Okay,
What I'm wondering is,
that makes sense.
now this might sound like a little bit of, correct me if I'm wrong, if this would work out correctly, which is that, okay, so over the weekends, suppose you reserve a pavilion. Then and if you want to use the volleyball court, you can reserve that for whatever it is, for our fee. And put an extra fee on that. If you don't, that's okay, you don't have to, and that's gone. But we don't rent that if the person that got the pavilion didn't rent it. Now, they might find that out and say, but they're not guaranteed that unless they rent it. Does that make sense? And so somebody else comes up and starts playing volleyball there, they don't have a claim to it unless they rent it. And so but the idea would be, we're not gonna rent that, when we rent that pavilion, we're not gonna rent that volleyball court right there because, because of the parking considerations. So that would be a little more complicated for the staff. We'd have to check that. But if you say, well, somebody rented that pavilion, I can't rent a volleyball court because, that's the way it is. But if they want it, that's their way of reserving it. Because it would be one of those things where somebody wants to rent one of the pavilions, but also wants to use the basketball court and the volleyball court, presumably, sorry, not basketball, the baseball field, but so I don't know, would that make it too complicated?
Jim, in that scenario, if somebody said, I want to reserve the water, they're getting an extra charge?
Yes.
For that?
Yes.
So then it'll become easily known that all I have to do is say, I don't want the volleyball court.
It might become known that, but we wouldn't. Yeah, I understand. But the only thing is, though, what I'm saying is, it might become known about that, but what they wouldn't know is somebody decides to go and play volleyball, and you just because you rented the pavilion, if you didn't pay to rent the volleyball, the other guys are first come, first served. And I don't want to riot there either, but or hand-to-hand combat or something like that. But the way to make sure that you get the volleyball court or whatever is to reserve it. And there's a fee.
Yeah, and when I say something, just like Mr. Hess recommended, if we have it just for East Lampeter Township, I think that's great. We need to reserve something for our home base. That should go without saying, but we still need regulation, and we can't go too far in advance, because if someone has a big check and then they're taking away from somebody who is less financially in a position to do it, but they want to go for a week or they want to go for 2 days, but they can't because, hey, this guy with a big check booked it for 4 months ahead. We need to be fair.
Yeah. Do we have to have a limit?
Well, to me, the fairness would be, you pay for the pavilion, and that's all you pay for. If you want the volleyball, basketball, whatever, pay extra.
Yes.
If you're from out of town, you pay a little bit more extra.
Yeah.
And that would solve it, except for the number of parking areas you sort of have to figure out.
Yeah. If the slot is, it would charge no fee for an outsider. If the slot is recommended or it's requested by one of our people to be Lampeter, then the person will be obligated to pay an extra fee. It would have to be something like that. First come, first serve. You want to do in advance. It's a pretty simple process. It's a team that wants to.
I'm gonna go back to something else we talked about a little earlier about the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday part. If we charge for the field separately in those days, and we still have the fee of the fee for the pavilions, we are now in effect charging more for the days that are the slowest.
Correct. As opposed to what it should be the opposite.
Which is brass backwards, yes.
Well, see, that's why I was saying that would equal it out, is if you want to rent the pavilion, you want to rent the volleyball court, you pay extra for that. Period.
You're saying which time frame though, weekend or during the week?
Across the board.
So you would keep it consistent across the board.
Yes. And then what I would do is, but then what I would say is, if you don't want the volleyball court, you don't have to pay for it. But if you decide you suddenly want it, or you're trying to say, well, I'm going to rent the pavilion, or what we're saying is don't rent the volleyball court over the weekends if you rented the pavilion.
I don't think that solves the problem. I think it creates one.
Well, I think it's more of an accounting problem.
Yeah, well, it's that too, but it's.
But why not make a proposal?
Okay.
And this is just a proposal. I'd be glad to narrow it down, but give us a starting point There'll be a separation, whether on weekdays or weekends, between the pavilion and any of the areas. If you want to rent the volleyball court or whatever, you have to pay extra throughout the week. If you're from out of state and want to rent, you have to pay extra for the athletic, for both the pavilion, and if you want to rent the courts, extra for the courts. And just start from there. And if you guys from there, well, let's wheedle it down if you want to change that. But at least you got a starting point. Opening everything up, all the pavilions up, pay for those separately, pay for the courts separately. Out of state, pay a little bit more. That's my proposal. And looking for anything, I just want to throw something out to get it started.
What's your upcharge? 30%? You had a resident, non-resident upcharge
Oh, for,
for programming.
oh, yeah, 30%, sorry.
30%, okay.
Yeah.
Let's not mess with that. Let's leave it alone. If we're gonna do that. Make it that way for everyone.
And we have a couple of problems that we're trying, that we're kicking around, and it's a little confusing. One of the problems that we were trying to address was the issue the gentleman in the back raised about somebody renting Tuesdays, renting the parks all the time, or the facilities all the time. And then the second part is the parking, that if we make the fees separable, the parking on the weekends when we'd have all the pavilions and all the facilities rented. So those are two different issues.
Well, on the parking issue, have we ever had a situation where we don't have enough parking spaces at the parks?
Yeah, I think the answer is yeah, we have, right?
Yeah.
And how often? That's the other issue.
I don't know, I can't tell you how often, but
Half the time, most of the time, or rarely.
If you would be renting everything separate, I think it'd be a lot. When they're there on the weekends, when all the pavilions are rented, it gets pretty full. And now you're already going to.
You've got a lot of people that are just
Don't have the extra people in the park, the gardens. You have the gardens, there's at least 15 probably cars coming there, depending on when they come.
hopefully they're not all showing up at once, but.
Now, here's another possible solution.
I'm just throwing that out as a starting point to work it down.
Yeah, it's like, I got a slight modification of yours, which is, that tries to address all the issues. Okay. The first one is you charge more for the pavilion over the weekend, period. You charge $25 extra. And so across the board for the weekend, you pay more for the pavilions. Okay. The second proposal is recognizing the parking problem. For the extra you're paying, you
get the use of
the field.
Extra right from the
Right.
weekend.
Right. So you get the use of the field. So basically what it is the fee, what I would suggest is the fee for renting on the weekend is the same as if you rent during the week and rent a pavilion and pay for the field.
I think that makes sense.
But if you don't, you get the lower rate. So it gets us there's a lower rate for using the pavilions during the week, presumably an incentive for using that. And there's also the option to make the additional money from renting the fields during the week. And then also the additional money from the field rentals, from the higher rate for the weekends.
And people that are doing it on the weekend, possibly you might get some of them that'll shift to the middle of the week with the higher rate too.
So if you said the rate on the weekend is $100 for the pavilion and you get the use of the fields.
Yeah.
And the rate for the pavilions during the week is $75 and you pay for the fields if you want them.
Right.
Does that get us where we want?
I don't know. That's what I'm suggesting. Yeah, that's one way around it.
That would be the concept.
Yeah.
Prices.
Makes sense, although it doesn't address the taxpayers versus the people from out of the area.
We could adjust the taxes out of the
Non-resident
they pay it.
I just think the residents need to know that they have a benefit for being a resident.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is they're gonna get that. Okay, everything bumps up if you're a non-resident. Does that make sense?
Is it manageable?
So Saturday and Sunday would be higher. Saturday and Sundays would be a higher fee, includes the fields.
Yeah.
If you gotta hire another employee.
That would be fields additional.
Yeah. And but then we'd also have the additional revenue that if somebody rents a pavilion, doesn't rent the field, we can rent the fields out. For Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday. Great.
You've got higher usage though, Mondays and Fridays.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Lisa's proposal was Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays being different, rather than including Mondays and Fridays.
I would agree with that because there's a lot of Monday holidays.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, yeah, so it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday are the higher days.
The higher fee and during the week is a lower.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That work? And then there's a fee, yeah, it's a lower fee during the week, but then there's also a fee to just use the fields.
The fields. During the week, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, midweek. Yeah, does that work? Do we need?
We need a fee will be, because this is our last meeting and we'll have to advertise it in.
Yeah. Do we need a motion to do that?
Dan, this is your last meeting. Figure out what this would look like and how to manage it. Feel like staff would need some time to work through those issues before we can say, yeah, we can make it work, or here are the problems that we have.
Well, why don't we make our proposals pending their review? So if they come back and say, this is that, well, then we have to rethink it.
That, or the principle we're trying to achieve. I'm confident with you guys saying, okay, set the rates. I don't care what.
Special meeting if we need to before January, confirm everything.
We need to do that next month in order to have enough time to get here. So I think we understand conceptually what you're suggesting. We would just need some time to figure out exactly what the numbers would be and how we would manage it.
Okay.
Do we want to say we're going to have a meeting in November then to because
Wednesday's not.
special part. Specifically for this issue to discuss the pavilion or usage rates for 2025.
Yeah, I mean, the only reservation with the fourth Wednesday in November is the day before Thanksgiving.
Right.
Now, I don't have a problem with that, but I'm not going anywhere. But
yeah, that's not emotional.
Is it week before
What
that?
about the 20th?
20th is fine with me. Yeah. You'll have to advertise.
Yeah. So
I mean, and we could, I mean, it's up to you if you wanted to just be a special meeting to just set the rates.
Does that date work for all of you?
It's 20th. Yeah. Oh, you gotta go. Yeah, no. Okay, so we. 20? Yeah. Okay. All right, good. Okay. That's good. Yeah, if that works, that works for me. So, okay, so we'll
circulate by email before that as to how we are developing what this would look like, and maybe get some feedback and say, no, that's not what we meant, or yeah, you're on track.
I'm yeah, we don't
as efficient as we can.
Yeah, but we also don't do the sunshine open meetings law. So, but,
Within the law.
well, the main thing is, I guess if you send us an email, then if we then respond individually, then that's all individually, I guess, right? So that would presumably be legal.
Don't all thing.
Yeah, just use a reply. Okay. Okay. All right, good. Okay. All right. Going on the agenda, is there anything else? We want to talk about well, yeah, I guess Lisa's report, I think we were talking about.
Buildings and trails.
Yeah, buildings and trails, okay, thank you. All right. So if nothing else for buildings and trails, let's go to the director's report.
Right, current programming, so yoga in the Park Series just finished up last Tuesday, and we got pretty lucky with the weather. Had a little chilly last night, but it wasn't too bad, or there's still that were coming. And then the yoga in the Park Series is being moved indoors to Fritz Elementary. That's where we have from CDB. And then we're also a care yoga to be held here in the township facility, starting the 29th of October as well. We completed the fall festival. We had several hundred in attendance for that. We ended up running out of pumpkins. I thought it's a good thing. Didn't realize, you know, we started out with 84 pumpkins, but thinking that would be sufficient, and we ran out. So at like 11:10. So for next year, we know to get more pumpkins. We have children's activities. We gave out about 159 ounce cups of cider, 16 packs of popcorn, which is probably 200. And we did children's activities, ghost puppets, apple prints. Had TV students, and Nina Henry helped out that day. Several of our Lampeter employees did as well, from Public Works or Sewer Authority, and Girl Scouts of the Heart of PA came as well, and these. So we had a good community interaction. So overall, it was good, well attended, and a good event. This past Friday, we had a movie in the park over Missouri. We had a little over 100 people there as well. Gave out hot chocolate, popcorn. It was a beautiful night, full moon the night before, so the weather's been kind to us the last couple of events, so it's great. Currently still working on the summer playground that's been set now for the current Leola location. So we have that reserved for June the 16th or August the 8th, Monday through Friday. So we'll be able to use the outdoor playground, as well as their large group information room, education room, and the gym there too. So working on getting things set up for that. And I've been in contact with a volleyball coach who has connections to someone who runs outdoor volleyball tournaments. So the possibility of doing one of those for us here in the spring. That's about all I have right now.
Okay.
Place for tree lighting.
Oh yeah. We're still in the works maybe for next year. I've talked to several of the too that are.
Yeah. Well,
Sounds like she's been busy.
yeah. Okay. Old business. I know Chris would probably like to address the community gardens question again.
So that for this.
Okay, I figured that. Okay. All right. Perhaps you could address that.
You'll see in that handout, you can look at the second sheet, it has a schematic of aerial view of where the 15 plots would be for the garden plots, leaving about 25 feet on either side of those It also says they're 20 by 20 with a 3-foot walking path in between each of those.
Purple. What?
See how look, if you look on the screen, do you see how it highlights when I go over? We grow eggplants. It's just how it's.
Okay.
What was going to be going in there. But because I've seen some of the gardens and I've looked around the township, some people come in and build 2x4 frames and throwing plastic over and making greenhouses and everything there on the plot. And I've seen places where some of them already come in on the weekends and they bring their lawn chairs or beach umbrellas and their pop-up canopies and stay there for the weekend. That's kind of like their home away from home on the weekend. That stuff's not supposed to be allowed. It's just there to be gardening, right?
What I do to see, this is a draft, and when you start anything like this, things are going to evolve as you go, and you're having to change improve things or whatever.
Another thing I'd like to see personally, since I live there, I'd like to see some kind of a planning along the property line there again to put in there for some privacy that'll grow shut eventually.
I would be in favor of some sort of screening between at the property edge between the property that Chris.
Sorry, but
like an arbor.
no, the taxpayer is responsible for ensuring the privacy of owners of land but our parks, because there's lots of property owners that are, all 3 parks or all 4 parks that we have, and you do it for one, you're going to have to do it for everybody. Again, I have any person that has if you have a house and you want privacy from your neighbors are not responsible for that privacy. You are. So
I disagree with you.
but it's the taxpayer that has to pay for it. So why is the taxpayer responsible for your privacy?
It should be not because.
Why is the taxpayer? Why are taxpayers responsible?
The reason I can't have a deed restriction, I can't afford it.
There are a lot of options to create privacy that do not necessarily mean shrubbery or. I have a screen that I just installed for my hot tub that's it's 10 feet wide. It costs less than $100. It gives me privacy from my neighbors, but my neighbors didn't, I had to pay for that, not my neighbors.
I disagree. I'd like to have something put in, a screening put in.
Well, I don't think the taxpayers should be responsible for your privacy. If you want to do privacy, then you got to figure out a way to make it private for you that works for you.
I think when we're talking about a garden, installing shrubberies or anything else along that is not out of the realm of what a garden includes.
But we're only doing this for a year right now.
We don't know.
It's not if it was a permanent, we knew that this was always going to be a garden, then I could see us, it's a shrub. How much I'm just thinking of how much we spent on shrubs to go through there. We're talking thousands of dollars to put shrubbery screening across, with any kind of height shrub, you're going to spend a couple $100 for one shrub. Because I to do.
What plant material is selected? How big they are when you install them. But
right, so we could plant shrubberies across there, but they're still not going to give you privacy because it's going to take 5 years for them to grow. And again, we don't know if that's going to be the permanent use for that plot of land until we try this. I mean, it might not be the best. It may end up not being the best thing for that.
We don't know what the reception will be out there. Right. Now, all of them in the first year, or it'll be half of them or something less. We don't know that.
So I say we try it for a year. If it looks like it's a winner, something that's gonna be from year to year to year, then maybe we talk about shrubbery and screening or whatever. But for something that hasn't been tried yet, we're putting the cart before the horse to, you know.
I have to disagree with that because I have 15 sets of people sitting there next to me now and stuff and have it in there. And I think now once the people found out that that is part of the park and have it in there, I think there's probably always going to be somebody that's going to want to put something in there. And they're probably going to want to have something in there. And I personally would like to request to have something put in. I think that that's fair because it's always along the back of the park. When you come in the park, it's always along the back, the always in, that's all there. Something should be put in.
I don't have a problem with the money being spent on that simply because even if it is no longer a garden, that money is not wasted. That planting is not wasted. It remains. So if you turn it into an entry into the park, those shrubberies are still.
Side too. I mean, if you're gonna do it for Chris, you're gonna do it for this guy over here.
We have to find out if the guy wants it.
One way to find out if they want it is to split the cost. I mean, I don't know whether that's possible or not, that you could pay half and the township could pay the other half, and maybe your people would install the things. That could save a lot of money. I don't know whether is that feasible?
That's not feasible for me.
So how much would 125 feet of shrubbery cost?
We need to do some research. We can bring that information back to the park board in January, and you can consider it at that point.
Yeah, I'd like to see that considered.
I mean, I'm sure it would be, yeah, as you said, probably a couple $1,000, but because I put a row of arborvitae. You've seen it. I have a row of arborvitae in the back of my property that I put in myself, and I think I paid, but that was a couple of years ago, but I think I paid $35 or $45 for each one. So, and they're whatever they are, 3 or 4 feet apart, something like that. So it wouldn't be cheap, but it's a little bit. But I mean, that's the one way to find out if they want it is if you want it, you put.
Well, that's probably a board of supervisors expenditure anyway. So we can propose where we want. They're still going to have to decide if they're going to pay it or not.
Yeah, but I greatly appreciate what you've done here. This is great. This is what I was looking for, which is more some rules and some regulation on this. And I think it addresses the concerns Chris raised. I mean, do you feel like?
Some questions there. You saying about?
No, that information's not on here, but we're looking at like $30 per plot.
$30 per plot.
Leasing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's reasonable.
It's a going rate. Okay, now as far as there, you see there's a buffer on each side there as far as you're putting them in and bringing them along the property lines. The one question I have is, as you see, since you staked it out, I've been mowing more than my property there, but you don't mind see where you put the stakes. I thought my property line was about 4 feet further one way than it is. I've been mowing part of the park's ground for the last 48 years. It's just gotten.
Send him a bill.
Should I move my mailbox, or you think it'll be okay there when we set that up? What to say?
I think you should move your mailbox.
Yeah.
You're going to come through and landscape there, level that off so you can get it, because where there's just a little bit of a bump there, but I don't think that's where you're going to have in your park. Yeah.
A bump where?
Where the park comes over, where my yard starts, there's a that level, so you guys that know right now. I don't think if you come over to the property line, they'd be able to mow it because there's a little. Well, the soul came when I built my house. The man that owned the park, then the man that sold me the grounds also had the farm, and it was still a farm back at that point. I was not allowed to take any dirt off property, and he was there the day they excavated and pushed the ground over, and they pushed it over there. My ground comes over and it goes down, and then in the front it widens out a good bit. If you want to come through and maybe take that and level that off or something to make it so your guys can mow it. That's why I've been mowing it all these years and stuff. There's a hump there if you come down and look at it. if they want to come in and do something there.
We did cut that bank back a little bit when we were mowing it. We just didn't know where the property line was up there.
Yeah, I didn't know either. I don't think I ever had a front stake. None that I remember since I built the house. In the back, I think it's pretty good. We're about that far off the line. I don't think I have no problem mowing that side, you know, but back in there and see what they want to do.
You've been able to mow it though, right?
Yeah, but I've been pushing mower I mow it with. If you come here, like, it's like there, it's going to be a gap thing.
Or make sure more safe.
See what they got 3 feet further the other is, but too much over there. But let's say you go over there with the mowers and stuff.
On behalf of the township, I want to say thank you, Chris, for
48 years of realizing and knowing.
Free rental space for the mailbox.
All right. Well, I mean, then if there's, boy, then, I don't know. I guess we don't even need a motion or anything like that. Yeah, so it's comfortable with it.
We bring information back to you about an option for screening, just so you're aware. What we would be proposing would be something that is very low maintenance.
Oh,
for a
yeah.
lot of people, and
Should be.
so we'll bring that information and then you can decide what you want to recommend.
Okay. All right, but I love, once again, Lisa, thank you for the initiative. I think that's, we appreciate this kind of pushing the envelope with us a little bit. That's great. Okay, thank you.
A quick question. You had mentioned when I did my tour there about CDCs potentially renting.
Well, they had asked us, when I told them about this, they had asked about renting a plot.
Can we give them a preference? Just because it's going out to the broader community. It's not just a family that's going to do it. It's a service that's going to be provided, and it's going to be, you know, I think they should have preference if they want to do something like that.
Yeah, I get it. We have a relationship with Seeds on homeless outreach, and you know, this would be a logical connection as well.
Yeah, to make sure that they get a plot if they want it, you know.
Who's that?
CD Seeds, which is a community organization that's who's all involved? Kristen Hershey, North, Sue, still.
Michelle Kine.
Yeah, Michelle Kine. And they it's like a social service support system for the school, for the community, for the.
Okay, that's great.
Been, what, maybe 4 years, 3 years, 4 years.
They said their second birthday breakfast.
They're still fairly new, but they're making a lot of impact, I think, for what they do, and it's all CV oriented too.
Excellent. That's great. All right. Anything else under old business? New business. Any public comments? And we don't, I should have checked before, we don't have anybody.
So let's adjourn.
Okay, you have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second? All in favor? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.